All right, welcome to the Judiciary Committee this Tuesday afternoon, January 23rd. And this afternoon, we're going to get a walk through and discuss a little bit two bills, H564, which has to do with trespass and malicious injuries to property. And it means going into a car without the consent of the owner. And also H563 has to do with grand larceny of a vehicle. And we are going to turn this over to Legislative Counsel for a walkthrough.
Good afternoon. So Michelle Childs, Office of Legislative Counsel. And I'm going to start with 563. I'm also going to, well, it's not on the agenda. I'm going to mention H558, which I did not draft, but it is related. So I'll just let you know that it's out there. And then we'll go on to H564. All relate to some type of illegal activity related to motor vehicles. And also I passed around a handout, which is just a copy of what you have in Chapter 1 in Title 13 in our criminal title. And this talks about attempt. So there is a general attempt statute that I just want you to be aware of that spells out how attempts are punished with regard to how you apply the penalties and statutes. And so that's important when we're talking about the first bill here. So first we'll take a look at H563, which is an act relating to attempted auto theft. So this one is just an amendment to your grand larceny statute, which I understand you guys are fairly familiar with, that you've been working with that statute in some other bills. So if you look at page 2, and you look at that, there is a new subsection B added here. So it notwithstands section 9 of Title 13, which is that statute that I just put out there, because you'll see if you look at attempts and you look at subsection B in attempts, it says if the offense attempted to be committed is a felony, other than those that are up in A, which are like the kind of the biggies there that have certain different penalties, is that if it's not one of those in A, the person shall be punished by the less severe of the following punishments. It's a 10-year felony, or as the offense attempted, if it was committed, would be punishable. So the idea being that an attempt, like if it's a 5-year felony, the underlying, and there's an attempt, because 5 years would be under the 10 years, and it would be a 5-year penalty. All right, so got that? So what you have in the grand larceny, as you know, there's, there's this weirdo $900 threshold, which I will admit I had to write a number of years ago. It was so awkward. I'm sure Eric talked to you about it. It was like the result of a compromise of this really big study committee. But you have that $900 in value there. But it is a 10-year felony, right? So, so grand larceny is a 10-year felony. So what you have in subsection B is saying, notwithstanding the attempt section, a person convicted of attempting to steal a motor vehicle in violation of the section shall be in prison not more than 5 years. So an attempt would be a 5-year felony instead of a 10-year felony, because if you were applying section 9, it would be a 10-year.
Just so I understand, so this lessens the penalty for attempted auto theft. Okay, great.
Yep.
But does it increase the penalty if it's under $900?
Well, that's a question, and we didn't really kind of get into this. Representative Burnett and I were kind of emailing back and forth related to the other bill, and he wanted to have this one. And so we didn't explore too much. I think it's more just kind of a discussion starting point around these issues.
That was the words I used.
Right, is that to kind of get the ball rolling, talking about these things, what's on the books now, and where do you want to go? And which is
originally I talked about combining them both.
Right.
We had, and then decided to split them into two different bills.
Right. So I think it's just to kind of get the concept out there. Talking about, I mean, my daughter literally just bought a car today after months and months and months and months of working on it. And she had like a budget that she'd saved up all her money for, and was looking for a car for $10,000 or under. And boy, that was really, really hard. And so I guess there's cars under $900 out there.
See,
but
that's not the car somebody's going to steal.
But I don't know that it's, it's not going to actually go anywhere. They're going to have to like tow it away or something.
So that seems, oh, Tom,
The only thing that, so I was confused when I first got into law enforcement. I kept, a car was stolen, so like grand theft auto or whatever, what you would think is stolen car or whatever. But it was always, okay, no, they stole something, it's worth a lot, it's grand larceny. And we look at this and you got some section A, which goes through everything. And then some section B, and then it just out of the blue defines motor vehicle attempted theft. Why wouldn't we just attempted theft on something that's valued at or above cover?
Well, that already does cover, so an attempt at grand larceny under subsection A is gonna be a 10-year felony.
Right.
Based on what you have there for the penalty and then in combination with reading.
Okay,
the
is it an
attempt.
attempt or is that the actual theft?
Well,
That's the theft.
that's the theft, but the section I just talked about, section 9, which applies throughout with the crime, so an attempt.
Right. I would
Is
just be
that-
removing the motor vehicle part of it and just say property valued at.
Right, I think what Representative Burditt's concept is to have a lower, and I don't know if that was because maybe there's more room to bargain or charge people if the offense is not so high.
That's kind of what I was thinking, in another avenue to get at, people that are taking cars. And it kind of works off the other one in a way. And the thing that got me started is, it seems like every day now there's a car stolen by area. And I kind of wanted to go as an attempted, because right now, if somebody gets into your car, if it's unlocked, it's not illegal. It's no crime. So if they're actually in there attempting to steal it,
No, see, right?
what's that?
Operating without owner's consent.
Yeah, but if they're not operating it yet and they're just in it.
Oh, okay.
That's your other bill.
It goes back to not breaking the law. So I'm just looking at another avenue, just to, thwart some of this, because we are at the level of a lot of places as far as stolen vehicles go. And I don't know if we're gonna get there or not. I certainly hope not. And I would like to maybe thwart it a little bit before we get to the level of some municipalities.
so it's interesting because going to H558, which you've
Right,
been-
which I realize people don't have in front of you.
right, no, that's okay. It wasn't on.
It's
the-
okay, it wasn't on the list.
I didn't have it on the list, so, but, well, there it is anyway. Okay, excellent.
But I saw that you're taking some testimony
saw that.
from Judge Zone later this week on all three.
Yeah, and Ian Sullivan and Tim Reeder as well. So, so we're all kind of, all right, so what we're trying to get at is vehicles, the person going into the car, scrounging around trying to find something, but doesn't, that's 564.
Exactly.
Then we have, I guess, related to that could be the person that goes into the car, isn't rummaging around, but is trying to, there's evidence somehow that he's trying to steal it, or
Yes.
she's trying to steal the car, but it hasn't gone anywhere. Then we get to 558, and that's operation without consent of the owner. That's a person without the consent of the owner knowingly takes, obtains, operates, uses, or continues to operate. So you've driven off. And the issue I've heard with that one is it's really hard to prove the knowingly standard, because people say, well, Jed just lent me this car. I didn't know it was stolen.
Yeah, sometimes they leave it on the side of the road, destroy it, or you never see it again. You don't know how to charge it when you find it.
Right. So these are like three different stages that we're looking at. All right, that's
And each one is a stepping stone.
so we jumped ahead. We should have been with the person who's just in the car rummaging
Yeah, we
around.
can start.
I'm kidding. I'm just.
563.
Taking the change.
So Ellen,
It's really helpful sometimes to just hear from the person who introduced the bills about why they're doing this. Like, I just don't have the background and then walk through it. I'm just wondering if we could just, what's the problem with the existing? Like what Tom was just getting at. There's some situation where there isn't the right charges to bring. I just don't know what the problem
so
is.
that's, yes, there are we're gonna get that from Ian Sullivan mostly.
Okay.
I've heard that the knowingly issue is a problem, but I don't know if that's the problem or if Tom has gotten at the problem but state's attorneys have said we're having trouble dealing with auto theft.
Yeah.
And these are three efforts at going after that. Actually, the one I did is from some input that I got from the Department of State's attorneys. But I don't know if that quite covers it, but that's the idea, is that they're having trouble. Well, one of the ideas, and you can explain the nod, Bill.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. So you want me to go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead with
Yeah, 564 isn't my idea. It actually came up just before or during COVID, but now Senator Hashim. And it kind of got lost during COVID, where it's not illegal for me to go into your car and start rifling around. But if I.
There's no charge for that. There's
No, there's
we
no
don't have
crime.
to look.
But if I go into your unlocked shed on your property or go into your garage on your property, that's, I'm not sure the level, but that's breaking and entering. Or at least unlawful trespass. And the reason that I brought this back up, I mean, this got forgotten in a sense. And a friend of mine who's a detective for the state police, a while back was up in the northern part of the state investigating a murder, and his phone pinged. He picked up his phone, and on Cardinal Place in Rutland at his house, there's somebody in his car. And, of course, he called the local authorities, whatever, and then through that, he found out that it's not breaking the law. So he called me and thought he was breaking new ground, which is fine. And that's why it started back up.
Thanks.
Brings up another interesting issue. So what then is your expectation of privacy in the car? If you leave it unlocked and people can just go through it?
The same it would be in my shed.
No, I mean now. For the.
What do you mean? I'm not.
Well, what's the if somebody goes into your car and rifles through it, they're not breaking the law.
Right.
So you don't have an expectation of privacy in your car? That's.
Yeah, right, yes.
You do. I
Yes.
mean, I think isn't that?
That's what we're getting at.
Rhetorical question, I guess.
Right.
Okay, so why would I need a warrant to search your car?
Right.
Oh.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's an expectation of privacy.
It's not necessary because whatever the expectation that extends to your property, to your home, to your shed should extend to your car.
It's curdling.
Thank you for the context.
Rolling.
So,
So how about we jump to 564 and we can look at that language. So if we look at 564, and this is a little different. So 563 is saying, oh, let's look and see whether or not it could fit within an attempt to steal a vehicle, could fit within grand larceny, right? And then you have 558, which is saying, well, let's look at operating a motor vehicle without the owner's consent and the conditions under that. This is, as Tom mentioned, looking at taking the approach of it being kind of like an unlawful trespass. So somebody is not actually perhaps, have any intent at all on stealing the motor vehicle or anything like that. You don't necessarily know what their intent is. Maybe they're going to just rummage through your glove box or who knows, right? So unlawful trespass is kind of staged for depending on where you are unlawfully trespassing. Are you in violation of a no trespass order? Are you entering someone's home without, their consent, or, where is it? And then it has, stepped up penalties there. And so what you have in section 1 and 564 is a new subsection C. So a person who knowingly enters the vehicle of another person. So that's important thinking about. I don't know if any of you have one of those cars that like everybody has, right? So my daughter's new car is a 2015 Subaru Outback, right? So there's a million Outbacks in the world. So if she parks over at the high school and she goes out to her new car, right? But she thinks it's her car, but it's actually not her car.
Could be my car.
Right. So she wouldn't be knowingly, entering the vehicle of another person without the legal authority. She has a, reasonable belief that that's her car, right? She just hasn't covered it in stickers yet. And so you have the knowingly aspect there. So it's who knowingly enters the vehicle of another person without legal authority or consent of the owner in lawful possession of the vehicle. And it's a $500 fine. So it is a criminal offense. There's no imprisonment set forth for that, but it is a criminal offense. For a second and subsequent offense, a person who violates the section, it's a 1-year misdemeanor. So that could address the situation where Representative Byrd is talking about someone, might be kind of interrupted. Let's say maybe their intent was to steal the vehicle, but they're interrupted, but maybe they can't bring a charge of attempted, operation without the owner's consent because of that. They can't prove the knowingly was attempting to steal the motor vehicle. Or maybe they don't want to bring that charge because it's a felony, or if it's under a grand larceny because it's a 10-year felony. So I think it's like when you have the witnesses, the issue is to kind of more rather than be, adhering to any particular language here, but is to understand the problems. Where do you feel as though there might be some gaps in the law? And then we can just kind of start from the beginning, taking little pieces of all of this and craft something that meets your needs.
Do you have a question?
I did, but I don't now.
So on page 2, you'll see on the new subsection D, and that's a person who enters a building other than a residence whose access is normally locked, whether or not the access is actually locked at that time, or a residence in violation of any court order. There is a 1-year misdemeanor, but there is a new penalty for a second or subsequent offense added there to make a second or subsequent a 3-year felony. The rest of the changes are just technical.
Just what?
Technical?
Oh, technical.
Yeah, just
typical.
No, it's just updating gendered language.
Oh, it'd be burglary and unlocked quite well.
No, it'd be the trespass. I'd have to pull up the burglary statute. But there's different elements.
But I mean, I think you would recognize your own shit and not accidentally going to somebody else's shit. I guess. You'd still hit him with a burglary, right?
No, I'd have to pull that up, the burglary.
Well,
You can answer that better than I can.
Yeah. Driving.
Well, tell us.
They wouldn't put it on this dealer, but most of them were stolen because they're left running out in front of the convenience store.
So you want to go after the owner of the vehicle?
Well, it's already illegal to leave one unattended and running.
Right.
I mean,
Really?
and
Interesting.
I don't know, maybe if you
Enforce that a couple times and watch everybody pay attention.
people would be like,
Is that what's happening now, though?
oh yeah, pretty much.
But isn't like.
Very seldom are you getting the textbook, like I'm gonna slim Jimmy a car, or they've got the keys and left in it.
So
But
would
really,
Insurance like end up saying, look, we're not gonna.
well, they do, but your insurance rates are gonna go up badly
Yeah, no.
if
So
they stolen.
Can I just follow up? So for burglary, you have to enter a building or structure knowing that you're not licensed or privileged to do so with the intent to commit a felony, petty larceny, simple assault,
A crime
or
within the
unlawful
building,
mischief. This, on the unlawful
just
trespass,
same
you don't
way, yeah.
have to prove those elements.
So it's
It's
just a
just
crime
that
going
you
south.
have entered a building other than a residence where you do not have permission to be.
Is a residence covered by something else? I know with burglary, we just discussed how there had to be these sort of enhanced things going on, but is there a statute that if you enter a residence whose access is normally locked?
Yes, that is, now if you look at 8, on line 8, a person who enters a dwelling house.
Is that, what's a dwelling house
Dwelling
versus a
Oh,
residence?
God, I don't know. I'd have to look.
That's
Not a
one that
shed.
can be occupied that people normally live in.
Right.
Why wouldn't we just add outbuilding to that and be done with it?
I know that like in
Sorry,
burglary,
indeed.
they talk about occupied dwelling, right? Means a building used as a residence. I think we're a little circular here.
Yeah, we did that a few years ago, separated the occupied and.
Right, yeah, I typically don't do the theft stuff, so it's a little new for me.
So a dwelling house is just a place where someone dwells.
I think so.
And it doesn't for E here, line 8, it doesn't matter if the person dwelling there is present or not.
Right,
Okay.
I think I'd have to look and see what is the difference between an unoccupied dwelling and a residence. But happy to get into all that, pull all the definitions, look and see if things are either identified in statute or case law and look at them holistically and see whether or not
We use outbuilding as
that needs some
terminology.
clarification because it's not referred to in statute.
Cool, that sounds good, thanks.
Would that include a business? Outbuilding, I don't think.
Residence, yeah.
I didn't look, I think for unlawful trespass, there's actually quite a lot under case notes, but I have, I can take a
It's
look.
only a burglary if there's a crime associated or the intent for the other,
Right,
just like a robbery, you have to have a
right, otherwise it's a trespass.
assault and a crime.
Or so, when was that originally enacted? I'm curious, I'm looking, trying to find that.
Which one?
The unlawful trespass, where we have all the language there. I wonder if it's, let's see, 81? No.
Or you could add a motor vehicle to the unlawful trespass.
What's that?
Or you could add a motor vehicle to the unlawful trespass.
But we have it. This is what,
Or that's the C change.
yeah, that's the main change.
Yeah, this makes sense to me.
So
Can I ask a?
1970 was the original for unlawful trespass.
Yes, go ahead, Angel.
I'm back to on 563 where we started, I suppose. And I think I'm just missing. Or maybe I'll say, I think, let me check my understanding that this subsection B or section B is needed to pull out attempting to steal a motor vehicle and then reduce
Right.
the penalty.
Mhm.
Okay.
Because an attempted would be covered by that, but it would be a 10-year.
Gotcha. And the thinking is perhaps then it's a tool that would be used more often because of the reduced penalty.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
That would cover business.
Right, like-
Well, it confuses me though, I mean, if you say up to 10, I mean, I'm fine reducing, but if you say up to 10, I mean, that includes up to 5. You know, it's sort of like where, I guess one thing I'm trying to understand is like, why would it make it more palatable or used when they could seek a 5-year sentence? They could seek a 3-year sentence, right? I mean, like.
They could seek a 9 years.
They seek a 9-year sentence, yeah, I mean,
This they can't.
exactly, yeah.
Now, it was just my thinking that was, not that I know anything, but that it just seemed like a more just penalty.
Yeah, that makes
Or
sense to me, yeah.
attempted. I mean,
Yeah.
because basically, yeah, to me, again, my thought process, yes, it's an attempted auto theft, but they're basically just in the car.
Right.
And, you know, and that's as far as they got. They didn't take off down the street. Then maybe consider the 10-year and depending what they were gonna do with it, and whether the joyride or if they're gonna, you know, bring it to a chop shop or whatever.
Yeah, that makes sense.
To me, it went with my, with my bill where somebody was just getting in the car.
Right.
They can kind of almost work off each other.
So there is a case, State v. Stokes. Nothing in the unlawful trespass statute suggests that places like planes, trains, and automobiles are to be excluded from criminal trespass protection. Common sense and the plain language of the statute compel the conclusion that the inside of a car is a place for purposes of the statute. Accordingly, there was no merit to defendant's challenge to his unlawful trespass charge, which arose from his refusing to leave his ex-girlfriend's car. But that's the key here because it's a person shall be imprisoned for not more than 3 months, blah, blah, without legal authority or the consent of the person in lawful possession, he or she enters or remains on any land or in any place as to which notice against trespass is given. So everybody just has to say no trespassing sign in their car window and it will solve the problem.
Right.
And purple stripes on your car.
That would be my new place.
But I started reading this, I said, wait, this is already taken care of. Oh, no, you have to have the no
Give notice.
trespassing, or you have to give notice, you have to
Yeah.
tell the ex-girlfriend has to tell
Business
the
idea.
ex-boyfriend to get the hell out of the car. Yes, Barbara?
Okay, so here's a hypothetical that I'm wondering if it would happen. I know that there have been situations, at least in Burlington, where somebody has seen it's a hot day and somebody's dog is in a car.
Mhm.
And so they have gone into the car to,
We passed a separate law to allow
but would
that.
this, right, but would this would obviously carve that out. So if you broke into someone's car to get the dog out, we would not be.
Yeah, what, don't you have a law
We
specific?
passed a specific.
Yeah.
You can bust a window out of the car.
Right,
It
so
just saves the
we
car.
would
That doesn't void that law. This
Okay,
doesn't
right,
void that
or
law.
a baby.
Okay, I see.
or-
That's-
Specific law is gonna control, and wherever that law
Yeah, okay.
is, we can always say notwithstanding
Okay, good.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Right, because
yeah.
I've had several people be like, someone left their dog in and I opened the, I didn't. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, but
No, go ahead. We have set 9 minutes before there's ice cream. So
But who's can?
8 minutes, right, 8. So, no.
Are there any more bills that go with this package? Because I'm foldering them together.
Like a
No,
moped or?
I have mine folded together as
Okay.
well. I mean, of course, all the things we're doing goes with this package, our pre-charge.
Yes.
Goes
yeah.
with this because it's the first time, they will hopefully go there. Our work's functioning better and more
Probably
quickly,
over the
that goes with the
This day.
stuff we'll be doing after the crossover on regulations and conditions, release, all these things, all work together.
One big folder.
So just for, yes, yeah, Ellen, go ahead.
Well, maybe you're about to say what I'm gonna ask, but I'm wondering about people's testimony on these. Are people gonna have looked at all two or three bills?
Yeah, you'll see that, yeah, I have the testimony lined up for all three of the bills, so they can kind of look at them together.
But will they actually have looked at all three bills?
I assume, Kayla, you've sent all, what you
Yeah,
put,
I didn't really specify exactly, but
Yeah.
like kind of.
yeah, if you
Right.
could just, I'm sure, yes, I made clear.
People testifying. so-
Yes, yeah, it's the same people in each
No,
one.
it's a good question.
Yeah, no, and I actually specifically pointed out these three bills to Ian and to Tim and to Judge Zone. So yeah, they all know. But just for purpose of, once again, we don't have anything scheduled for a vote this week, making me a little nervous, 3 weeks in a row without this committee voting something out.
Not 3 weeks.
2
Isn't-
weeks.
What week?
This is week
No,
four.
but this is week 4 right now.
Yeah.
And I don't have anything scheduled for this week.
we
Week
made
4.
some big ones.
Right, I know, can't you just ride your high about having the 2 first bills to pass out of the House?
The first bill, yeah.
All right.
Weren't there the first 2?
Oh, well, the second one was not really our bill.
Visited.
That
Oh,
one-
right, it wasn't yours,
that
right,
one-
I just.
I just did a drive-by.
Yours.
So, no, and the answer to that is no.
Okay, all right.
But yeah, we'll try to schedule something that we can actually vote on next week. But I'm hoping to really move on pre-charge diversion next week. The retail theft bill, we're going to have more testimony, and I think I've mentioned this to people before, that it's then going to pause until corrections is done with the work crew work that they're doing. And then the judicial nominee, we'll see what our many witnesses say on that. I'm already hearing that people like and dislike different parts of it. And these bills might move a little more quickly if they're straightforward. They actually kind of seem pretty straightforward. The 3 we just looked at, which if we're going to do all of them, I would say we'll combine them into one bill. But they seem relatively straightforward. He said, I didn't say simple because that would have doomed them. It's not straightforward. It's different. All right.
And you qualified it by saying seems to be.
See, you got to have a lot of qualifications. You don't say simple. And you just, we know.
Now I've got a question.
Yeah, well, see, I gave you time.
A lot of the people we're gonna hear from are gonna, I know part of the car theft statute, a lot of it has to do with damage or depriving the person of their vehicle. versus taking it for a joyride and leaving it on the side of the road where they recover it and have it back.
Right.
These things are coming back, just biohazards, literally, and they don't want it back. And I don't feel as though we should give it back, or at least be able to call it a watch somehow, like. Damage, like, I can tell you several people who buy their cars stolen, it's just full of needles and everything,
Right.
by the time they get it back, so.
And,
So,
Right.
so.
and can I add something to that?
Yeah, there you go.
The Community Justice Center in Burlington has had so many people who have a car stolen, then also have to pay an exorbitant towing and storage fee because their car gets towed, and they're on the hook for it, and they're talking about the cleaning fee, but the towing and storage fee, it's like, if the police know it's a stolen car, why are they? Yeah, that it's adding insult. It's usually about $1,000 of towing and storage and cleaning.
Wouldn't be surprised, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And like, not to mention, what
But- and you don't-
happened in the car. I have a friend whose car
I
was
don't-
stolen and a person died.
So how do we deal with this similar issue that I'm hearing? Is this do we have, I was gonna say vehicle, I guess.
It's like-
Vehicle for those things.
I mean, that kind of fits in the concept of what you have under operation without consent of the owner in the Title 23 provision.
Right, right.
Kind of there's more of the kind of intent to steal the vehicle, or something in the vehicle. And then there's kind of the deprivation of the vehicle for a certain period of time.
Combined with another.
Right, so I think once you can just kind of get all of these issues, out on the table for the witnesses and talk about, what tools do they use currently and are they effective, or what gaps there are, and then I can work with you guys on filling in the gaps.
Joe.
Does victim compensation have to be written into statute? Like, do we have to say like this crime, there is, some sort of victim compensation there?
I don't think so, but I'll take a look at the victim comp statutes and what they can recover for.
And frankly, like, I know, like, for Burlington, they're saying like, they're paying lots and lots of money for that. And we should talk to Jen Poland, because some of it, Jen has said they can't use the federal money for.
Right, so yeah, Jen's a perfect person to come in and talk about what people can recover for and apply for out of funds. Jen Pullman from the Center for Criminal Justice Services.
Speak on this.
Yeah.
It's what about this? I mean, this particular nuance of it a lot.
Not fair. Having somebody drive your car, you're responsible, like me, I know how I drive my vehicle. It's, get a rental car. It's not mine, right?
So while I have everybody for 2 more minutes, any suggestions on witnesses for the motor vehicle while I have everybody's?
Should we-
on this? I mean, we have Tim Leaders Dumont, Rebecca, or somebody from Defenders Generals, Jen Pullman.
Someone who's had their cars, like a lived experience sort of person.
Someone that has, but I don't, it'd be hard to get.
Yeah.
Zoning.
Oh, thank you. Zone's coming on Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah, we are lined up. Well, I actually have Tim lined up too.
It's attorney for building.
And I have Ian lined up, right? So I have Ian and Tim and Zona all ready for this, but I'm thinking of who else besides Defender General.
What about, I'd be curious to hear from law enforcement to just
Oh, thank you,
understand
yes.
like how
Yeah,
they
yeah,
would, how they would know, how they would collect evidence, what they would need to know to charge.
So we'll get somebody different than Chief Holder, Chief Burke.
Why do we get them from Burlington?
We can,
I'm not clear.
yeah.
Yeah, can you give me an invite for the testimony for these bills?
About like hearing from the insurance industry, like, God, I was this in dark. Like, will this end up having to go to another,
Insurance, like who?
like I know on the towing bill, the auto insurance network, whatever the.
Right?
Well, I'm thinking of like people who, like providers of auto insurance, they're represented and they care about.
Do you know who is their,
Is it Bridget?
Base
Maybe.
in
Well,
the
Bridget, no,
building?
Bridget is Enterprise. It may be, I can look, it may be, Primer.
Yeah, if there's somebody that we can talk to about that and figure out the compensation part, you might as well
Yeah.
talk about that as well. Anything else? All right, we're adjourned. And I'm terrible that there's an hour and a half that we could be using, but